Stop Killing Games is a European citizens initiative that can't stop, won't stop moving. However, there is one European video game lobbying group that has come out against Stop Killing Games. Today we're looking into it, and we're also going to talk about why I think this means Stop Killing Games is actually making waves and making the right people scared. Let's get into it. Hello everyone, I am Jmulls. And let's get you up to speed. Stop Killing Games, according to their website, is a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers. An increasing number of video games are sold effectively as goods with no stated expiration date, but designed to be completely unplayable as soon as support from the publisher ends. This practice is a form of planned obsolescence, and is not only detrimental to customers, but makes preservation effectively impossible. Furthermore, the legality of this practice is largely untested in many countries. This is the most powerful option at our disposal, the European Citizens Initiative, but it requires a massive number of signatures from citizens of EU countries in order to pass. If we can pass the signature threshold, there is a very strong chance that the European Commission will pass new law that will both protect consumer rights to retain video games that customers have purchased and advance preservation efforts massively. There's also a separate petition for the UK government. Game preservation is in for one long, grueling road, as a bunch of people in powerful positions surely do not want additional legislation to pass in any big market so that they can perpetuate modern business practices that act detrimental to the consumer's best interest. We have seen the erosion of the idea of ownership in gaming in the modern day, where most of the time you don't even get the game, you get a license for the game, which can be revoked at their own discretion. It is one of the most nefarious trends in modern gaming in my opinion, and while not everything can be certainly rectified overnight, I think something like Stop Killing Games is a massive step in the right direction. And at minimum, it has really kickstarted this overall conversation, which I also think does genuine good. However, VideoGamesEurope, that lobbying group we talked about before, well, on the 4th of July, they actually put out a statement on Stop Killing Games. Let's read it together and try not to dry heave, shall we? We appreciate the passion of our community, however the decision to discontinue online services is multifaceted, never taken lightly, and must be an option for companies when an online experience is no longer commercially viable. Notice the use of the word experience. We understand that it can be disappointing for players, but when it does happen, the industry ensures that players are given fair notice of the prospective changes in compliance with local consumer protection laws. Just to recap, by the way, Anthem's going offline in the not-so-distant future. Now get this. Private servers are not always a viable alternative option for players, as the protections we put in place to secure players' data, remove illegal content, and combat unsafe community content would not exist and would leave rights holders liable. In addition, many titles are designed from the ground up to be online only. In effect, these proposals would curtail developer choice by making these video games prohibitively expensive to create. We welcome the opportunity to discuss our position with policymakers and those who have led the European Citizens Initiative in the coming months. Okay, let's talk about this crock of crap. First of all, I don't want to particularly entertain the idea of how this could increase the cost of games when the current state of the industry is moving in a direction of removing ownership entirely to move to licensing. That, to me, is the worst case scenario and one that should be avoided at all costs. I don't particularly want to entertain the idea that the well is safe to drink from the people that create the poison. I love how they try and justify this as well. We understand that it can be disappointing for players, but when it does happen, the industry ensures that players are given fair notice of the prospective changes in compliance with local consumer protection laws, as if actually telling you that they're going to take away something you purchased makes it right or better. Just because something is technically legal does not make it morally right or something we should necessarily tolerate. I absolutely despise the modern notion that you don't actually own a video game that you buy, that you only actually get a license. I think it's despicable, and it shows an increasing trend in the video games industry of eroding the concept of ownership itself. Sure, for some games I can assume and imagine that it would indeed increase the cost to develop certain games that are designed to be online only. However, if the alternative is that the game can just go away at a moment's notice for whatever reason, even if I don't like the game, I don't think that's a reality any consumer should tolerate or be forced to tolerate. Allowing consumers to have perpetual access to the game they purchased, in my opinion, should be the bare minimum. Again, when the alternative is simply the modern status quo of the concept of ownership being thrown into a wood chipper, I personally believe almost any alternative is preferable. You know what? Let's talk about a little fun thing called conflict of interest. Did you know that on the Video Games Europe page, under the About Us tab, you can actually find out the people on the board? They actually tell you what company they're associated with. Oh, we have plenty to choose from. We have Roblox, Epic Games, Electronic Arts, Nintendo of Europe, Microsoft, Activision, Sony Interactive Entertainment, Take-Two, Ubisoft, Square Enix, Bandai Namco Entertainment, Level Infinite, Cell, Game, VGFB, UKIE. Oh, and by the way, the chair is from Warner Brothers Games. A collection of the biggest corporations in gaming that perpetuate the modern idea of eroding the concept of ownership in the video game medium, only to send out licenses for games that can be revoked on a whim, where games can be just simply shut down, and the game you purchased, you no longer have access to. And the people trying to decry Stop Killing Games as a movement and as an initiative are the same people Stop Killing Games is trying to directly address. The same companies trying to erode the concept of ownership to begin with. Of course they want to maintain the status quo. It gives them more control and more money, and forces them to do less. And you know what? Sure, maybe some games would become more expensive to create, but if a game has to be created with the sole idea that you don't own it after purchasing it, I just don't see why that should be tolerated or accepted. If you want to actually start a conversation about rights holders being liable for securing players' data, removing illegal content, and combating unsafe community content, we can have that conversation. It just should happen, in my opinion, after we establish people own the games they buy. That, to me, is the bare minimum. It is the foundation that everything else should be built upon. And you know what? Stop Killing Games is doing well. And while it is good to see the European Citizens Initiative for Stop Killing Games cross the 1 million signature threshold, it is still likely to need way more because of all the ones that are going to be thrown out because people can't spell their name right or signatures have been spoofed. What this is showing is that Stop Killing Games is spooking the right people. And when that happens, you know you have momentum. So leave a comment down below with your thoughts, your opinions on Stop Killing Games. Do you support it? Are you against it? What would you like to see down the line for game preservation overall? I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions and hear your perspectives. Stay safe, have a great day, follow me on TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter, JMullsG. I have a Discord in the description down below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye-bye, everybody, until we meet again!